Hey everybody, I am so excited to bring you this topic today. I think it's probably one of the most timely topics that we could be discussing in a event like this. And I think it is especially timely to freelancers in anyone who is getting started or wanting to build their business. Social proof is a critical part of how you can do that rapidly and how you can get the best customers. Because I know for me, my best clients in my own personal business have come from word of mouth, from referrals, from people who know me, love working with me, and recognize in another person the opportunity for them to get that same experience with me. I also know when people come to us through maybe a less direct social proof avenue, such as a review or something, they come with a different mindset, and that is certainly helpful when you're making sales and also when you're building towards starting a relationship with a client and building a business with them. So let's dive in and learn all about social proof, how you can get it, and how you can also use it in your business. So first, a little bit about me and what qualifies me to sit here and talk to you. I have been an entrepreneur for over 30 years. My official titles that I've given myself are creative adventurer and entrepreneurial strategist, because I like being creative and I also love entrepreneurism. Being an entrepreneur has been the best experience. Now, I have been in my entrepreneurial experience. I haven't been one single thing. I haven't always been successful either. I've had my ups and downs, but I can tell you now, as a successful entrepreneur in this moment, I have spent some time as a freelancer, a lot of time as a freelancer, as a freelance photographer. I also spent my early career as a freelance graphic designer. And I started a printing business, which I did end up going bankrupt with. That was my business failure. And when I came back and did it again and started another business, despite the first failure, I decided to start from home. And it was the best decision I think I have ever made in my life. To create my next graphic design business, I took my skills, my know-how, my artistic ability, and I turned it into a career. And I had a very successful career as a graphic designer. I did a lot of print design. I did a lot of advertising design. You'll notice this beautiful horse in the image. Most of my work was done, still is done a lot in the equestrian industry. So I work a lot with people who have horses. I understand horses. They are my favorite photographic subject. So it was a natural fit for me to work within that industry. But as I continued to be a graphic designer and advertising designer and continued to work with my customers around marketing, I added in all of the things that needed to be added in. I started adding in websites and digital marketing and social media marketing when that came along. I also can do a lot of video stuff. So I became kind of a one-stop shop for my clients. And as a freelance person, before I got more into this agency model, and what I discovered was that I was doing a lot of consulting and counseling with people, asking a lot of questions that I kind of thought business owners might already know, but they didn't. And I found that I absolutely loved teaching. I loved teaching people about entrepreneurship. I loved helping them with their marketing. I loved helping them see things in new and different ways and to embrace their own creativity in how they marketed and how they approached their business and how they built it. So that's where I am today. I do a lot of this. I talk to people about marketing. I talk to them about entrepreneurial strategies. I talk to them about entrepreneurial mindset and how to become sustainable inside of a business, whether that business is freelance or an agency or an equestrian business or any type of business that is out there. So that's where I'm currently at. You can find me at bemorebusiness.com. If you're curious about my blog and some of my philosophies, they are on that particular website. All right, so our goal for this presentation is to understand what social proof is, its value to our freelance businesses, and how to get more of it, how to actually garner this very powerful source. So what is social proof? Let's start out by understanding exactly what it is. Now, I can bet if you wrote down on a piece of paper right now what you thought social proof was, there's going to be a lot of the things that come up in the slides that are coming that you would say, yeah, I agree with that. That's kind of what I thought social proof was. But I hope that in the next few slides, you're also going to find some things that you can go, wait a minute, that's social proof, or I didn't even think about that. And I will also tell you, you will probably think of things that you're like, she missed this. And that's okay, because I've added to this presentation several times. And I keep thinking of more ways that our businesses are impacted by social proof and more ways that social proof is actually available for us. So let's get started. So first of all, social proof as a definition is anytime a potential customer learns about your business from another person's experience. So social proof is I've used your business, I've used you as a freelancer, I had an experience, and I'm going to pass that on to another person. Now, social proof that we're going to talk about today is going to be primarily positive. That doesn't mean all social proof is positive. Some social proof is negative. As a business owner, we kind of want to design our customers' experience to avoid the negative social proof and reach more towards the positive social proof. So that's what we're going to kind of learn about today, although I am going to briefly address what to do when you do get bad social proof out into the world. And there is an old adage that says that when people are talking bad about you, it's still a good thing because people are talking about you. And that's the bottom line to social proof. Consumers will, if you're being talked about and they're learning about your business, that's a good thing. We really want that to be a positive experience, but sometimes even a negative experience can be turned into a positive one. For example, if you have a bad review on Google and you go in and you reply to that review and you ask that person how you can help and how you can address it, your bad social proof just became good social proof to your next potential customer because they look at that and they go, hey, wait a minute, this business actually cares enough about their customers to A, read their reviews, and B, respond to them in a way that allows that customer an outlet to be able to get a resolution. So that's what I'm talking about there. So don't panic about the bad social proof and don't think that I'm blind to the fact that it doesn't exist out there. But we're going to concentrate mostly on the good social proof. So what does social proof look like? First of all, let's talk about the word of mouth. So before the internet, before cell phones, before all of this magical communication that we have going on in the world, a lot of the time, the ways we learned about resources that we could access or businesses that we could purchase from were done just like this picture, over the backyard fence. Our neighbors, our friends, our social circle, you'd say, hey, you know what? I'm looking for somebody to design a catalog. Well, you know what? I know a graphic designer. Here, I'm going to refer you. Or I'm looking to get new pictures done. Oh, I worked with this great photographer. So those conversations happened for many, many years, and they still happen today. And word of mouth, like I said, is one of the best ways that you can get a customer because those customers come pre-sold. Most of the time they walk into your business, or they pick up the phone and call you, or they email you with already buying intentions. They're more interested now in moving straight through all of the consideration phases down to the final closing phases of what is this going to cost me? How are we going to work together? What are the ways that you do business? So word of mouth is incredibly powerful. It's probably the most powerful marketing asset that you have out in the world. Now, you have no control over this. That's the downside to word of mouth. As a business owner, you can't buy it. You can try, but it's definitely watered down in the results. But you can't buy it. You can't necessarily even hone in on it, but you can encourage it and you can reward it when it does happen, which means it will happen more often. Also, there are testimonials, right? Testimonials that you gather from customers that come up to you and tell you how wonderful of a job it is that you've done with them, or how pleased they are, or how many comments they got on the last project that you did for them. So those are testimonials, and that's another type of social proof. There's also recommendations that you ask for. So for example, if a customer comes to you and says, really a potential customer, it says, I really want to work with you, but I'm just not sure. Maybe they've never worked with a freelancer before, or maybe they're completely new to you. And they'll say, can you tell me anybody that you have worked for in the past that maybe I could talk to? So that's a recommendation that they're going to ask for and that you're going to provide. And then also recommendations that are not asked for. So that's, again, very much like word of mouth, but maybe it's over email, or maybe it is on social media or somewhere else where somebody says, hey, I'm really interested in doing this project. And maybe they're building a new website and someone else chimes in and says, hey, I worked with this great website designer. I would highly recommend them. They are blah, 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 blah. Referrals are also in this category. I kind of consider referrals word of mouth, which is why it's not listed here. And then also public usage. So this is when you have your name on the bottom of a website and people go there and see that. So for an example, this would be maybe you built a website for a business coach, and then that business coach is out there working with other entrepreneurs and other businesses. And every time that person comes to the website, they see this subtle little signature at the bottom of the website that says, this person is the website designer, or this website built by. That's public usage. It's the reason why roofing companies put signs out in front of the houses that they are re-roofing. It's the reason why building companies put up the big signs when they're building a building. It's so that people know that their company has been hired to do that job. Photographers use this in signatures on their imagery. Watermarks on their photos. I've used that for decades on my photography. When it goes out in the world, if it's not been purchased and I'm just like putting it on social media, it has a big watermark on it. If it is going out into the world and is going to be used by the client for something else, many times the images, especially the more artistic ones, will have my signature on it. And just people seeing that out in the world means that my business is successful. It means that I'm being seen. So the public usage piece of it is also an aspect of this. Then you have your reviews. These are the stars and the reviews that you get everywhere. So for freelancers, those are going to primarily be Google reviews and social media reviews and LinkedIn recommendations. I threw in the Yelp, TripAdvisor, etc. reviews for any of those you that are listening this to help your clients garner more social media. And as I'm sitting here and I'm thinking about it, there are a ton of places that you can get reviews. And Amazon is another place. If you are working for a client who is selling a product and maybe you're helping them with their marketing, that would be another place that they might get reviews. Authors would get reviews there. So reviews are very important. And if you don't understand the importance of reviews, just look at Amazon as the example. How many times have you looked at an Amazon review and decided to purchase or not to purchase whatever was being reviewed? They are very powerful. Those things are done by total strangers. You don't know that person from Adam. You have no clue who they are. Most of the time, maybe some you do, but most of the time you don't know. You don't even know if those reviews are legitimate, but they will sway you into either being comfortable or scaring you away to where you're not comfortable people buying that particular product. That works the same way for service-oriented businesses. Google reviews, social media reviews, and LinkedIn recommendations can definitely make a difference. Now, LinkedIn recommendations are almost always positive because you're not going to ask somebody to recommend you, and typically people aren't going to take the time to recommend you and give you a poor recommendation. Social media reviews and Google reviews, however, can be poor. And I can tell you from experience, I don't think I know one single person who hasn't worked on their Google reviews that hasn't gotten the person who's given them 1 star for no reason. I swear there's an evil individual around out there that likes to make sure nobody has a 5-star Google review. And so they just simply go leave 1-star reviews and with no recourse to that. The truth is that if that happens to you and you don't want that to be on your quote unquote permanent record, what you really want to do is to blast Google or social media or wherever that negative review is with positive star reviews. So that's the time you gather the troops and send everybody to do reviews. But Google reviews, social media reviews, Facebook, Instagram, all the places, any place where someone can review you or leave star ratings of some ilk, that's a good piece of social proof as well. Also, in that same vein is subscribers, followers, and likes. Now, some of the social networks, Instagram being one of them, have chosen to make it, and Facebook another, well, they're owned by the same place, right? So, they've chosen to make it a little less obvious how many subscribers, followers, or how many likes a specific business page has. And even they've experimented with knocking down the number of likes that are going to be on an image or something else or on a post. The thing is people do pay attention to that. They will look at the number of followers or subscribers when they are wanting to make a decision about a company. And if the number is relatively low, it's not always a great thing. I don't think that this is as heavy a weight for people in making a purchasing decision as a review or as a testimonial. So I think it can easily be kind of pushed aside if Facebook and Instagram aren't your thing. For most freelancers and most social media people, for most people who are in this type of business where we're a lot of times providing marketing for other people, many times it's like the cobbler's kids are the ones who don't have shoes. So a lot of times our social media suffers, but our clients always excel. And it's a good thing to maybe point that out in places if you don't have a subscribership or a followership in the numbers that you would like. Again, to me, this is probably one of the lesser considerations of how to get good social proof, but it is one that people look at, and it's one that you need to be honest with yourself about. Another one that people don't cognitively think of as social proof, but I think is important to the purchasing decision, is how you rank in search result returns for your, let's say, your business name in particular, but in any type of Google search that would be very related to your business. In other words, do multiple pages of your website come up? Do you have a Google My Business listing, which you're going to need if you're going to collect Google reviews anyway? And is, are you easily findable in a single search for your business name or a business name that is pretty close to yours? And so that's just good management of your Google properties is what that boils down to. All right, then we move on to more interior social media kind of situation, which would be comments and shares and social recommendations. So this is when somebody comments on one of your posts that you put out on social media, or when somebody comments on one of your clients' posts where they talk about your business, or when you're mentioned in a comment for another totally totally unrelated thing, which is this is what I call a social recommendation. For example, I belong to a women's entrepreneur group on Facebook. And a lot of times people will post on there, I need a, and then it follows with multitudes of things that freelancers can do. And there's a ton of women entrepreneurs in there. And the social recommendations will just start pouring in. People will say, oh, I use so-and-so for that. I love this company for that. This individual is fantastic for that. So to me, those are social recommendations. They're also comments. Then you also have shares, things that you've put out on social media that people are going to share. That's a form of social proof. When somebody shares something, then it means that that person found it important enough to give it to somebody else. So that's a piece of social proof. Also associated to all of this social proof from the last slide and this slide are survey and poll data. That means if you've done a survey and you've surveyed all your clients to find a satisfaction level, or you've polled your clients around a certain service that you do or something along those lines, providing that data back like on your website, that's another piece of social proof. That's letting people know that people are using your business, that they're finding your business useful, that you're finding what their experience with you successful enough that they've showed up as a number or a tick in a chart for a survey or poll. And so that's kind of the same social proof. We typically don't know intimately the people that are on the types of social proof that I've given in the last few slides, the reviews, the social media proof. They may be a couple of ticks away from us in a personal relationship, but they still carry more than just like a total stranger. So it's important that you keep that up. Another set of social proof is Ask the Expert, or podcast or media appearances, featured profiles, public relations. These are places that have set you up as the expert, that show you as the person who's in the know. And they're very important piece of social proof and in building the social proof portfolio for your business, because they're a way that you can reach new individuals, and then you can recycle or use what the single asset that you get from this, like the single podcast appearance or the single article published in the news magazine. You can use that for a really long time as social proof, as proof that you are legitimate, as proof that you're an up and up business and that somebody thought you were cool enough to have you in an article, or to have you as a podcast interview, or to ask you questions about your particular field of expertise. This all kind of falls under the broader topic of public relations, which I think the art of has been a little bit lost in our digital world. When I very first started into business 20 plus years ago, public relations was a key aspect of how I started to build my business. In other words, getting articles written about my business, launching a business, that was all such a big deal. It was a great big deal in my little tiny town in which I live in, that I had started a business. I mean, there's a big ceremony, ribbon cuttings, chamber of commerce, all kinds of stuff like that. That's all part of PR. And it was a big part of getting my name out into the world and letting people know I was available and open for business, and that I was a legitimate business. I think in our modern world, we kind of depend on social media to take care of that, and we shouldn't. We should be reaching out to these news outlets. We should be actively seeking places to become an expert. If you're not comfortable speaking, then maybe find somewhere where you can write a blog, or where where you can do some type of visuals, an infographic or something with that shows your expertise in a certain area that would attract your ideal customers. Now, remind you that your public relations, all of these social proof things, they need to be attached to what it is that you're doing as a business. And I say that because I've done presentations where people have come up with some fantastic ideas that weren't going to bring them clients in their business. So you do want to be mindful of that. Other things that you can find where you can find social proof or display it, for in this case, is your website and your blog. Case studies. As a matter of fact, case studies are awesome blog topics. So if you're one of the folks like me who kind of is multi-talented and you've done a project for a business and show it off, tell the world, write a blog about it and say, here's my customer who came to me and we looked at their business and this is what we did. And here are some examples of it. And show the success and show the smiley customer at the end. That's a great way to let people know that who you are as a business owner and who you are as a person and who you are as a freelancer. So those are all great ways to do it. You know what else is another fantastic social proof option? Your portfolio. So having your portfolio available both digitally and if you work in print, having it available in print. I many years carried around I had a portable portfolio in each of my vehicles, and then I had a big giant one that I would take on customer interviews. Thankfully, digital has really helped us with that. You can put a lot of that stuff online, but make sure you have it. Take a few minutes to gather some of your best work and put it into a portfolio so that you can show it to people. Hey, you know what? I bet you have an iPad and I bet you have access to something like PowerPoint or Canva. Make a nice slideshow presentation that people can flip through on your iPad. The thing is when people see other people's logos, so you guys are B2B mostly, right? So when other businesses see other businesses' logos, their trust level just starts floating up in the air. So it's an amazing boost for you to be able to show that to people. Show off your work. Even if it's older work, you can show it off. Shows and expos. Have a booth at the Chamber of Commerce event. You go to the local business expo and have a table there, or simply show up and talk to people. Trade organization listings, websites. The Freelance Exchange. All of these are great places for you to have an association with, and for you to have a listing and to show off your work. That's one of the reasons why I love the Freelance Exchange in Kansas City, is they have so many events where businesses and consumers can come in and meet freelancers and get to know them. That's what I'm talking about here. Take advantage of those shows, expos, listings. Take advantage of them. So that's a little snippet of what social proof is and kind of what it looks like. But now let's talk about why is social proof so darn important, and why is it important enough I'm talking about it for an hour in this presentation? Well, number one, it builds trust. And in a new customer, in a culture that is really not a very trustworthy culture that we're living in right now. In other words, we're all kind of little, especially with COVID, we're all kind of little suspicious of each other. And there's a lot of people who scam people. There's a lot of people who ditch people. I have to tell you, as a professional website designer, I cannot count the many of times that customers come to me having had a bad experience with another person around their website. I know that's not the people listening to this presentation. The people who who either didn't do their site or who overcharged them or didn't deliver whatever they did, they're not sitting and listening to a presentation like this. They don't belong to organizations like this. I know that's not you, but your consumer doesn't know that. And social proof is one of the best ways for you to be able to bridge that gap, to get them to trust you. Because when they see evidence of other people having had a successful experience with your business, they are much, much, much more likely to want to work with you and to feel comfortable in working with you. So that's a big piece of it. The other thing it does is it creates the connection. So when a consumer is going through the customer journey and the buying process, they go through these levels of awareness around solving whatever problem it is that they have, and then they go through a buyer's journey. And a big leap between being aware of the fact that they want to hire someone for a project and actually making the decision to do so and picking the individual happens after connection. And that's when they've reached out, they've made a connection and started investigating you specifically. In other words, they're very interested in what you have to offer. And social proof is all about you. And whether it's you as an individual or you as an agency or you as a company or a business, that connection has to get created. And social proof really, really facilitates putting those two pieces of the puzzle together, the awareness piece and the actual decision-making piece to start the buying process. So it's an important piece of that puzzle. Another thing it does is it provides comfort. And who doesn't want more comfort these days, right? It puts people in the comfort zone. It allows them to see you as someone who has been successful with other people. It allows them to see that other people have been successful with you, that you are responsive, that you are a legitimate business. And I know I keep saying that, but it's true. There's a lot of people starting businesses right now. There's a lot of people coming into entrepreneurship, which I think is fantastic. But a lot of people don't approach it in a professional manner. And again, I'm speaking to an audience that I know does, because you wouldn't be in this conference listening to this presentation if you didn't care about things like that. So take the time to consider your consumers in providing them comfort by providing them social proof of the experience that they're going to have. So for me, there are 4 main types of social proof. And I think if you break it down this way, it's a little bit easier to develop a strategy, because you should really have a strategy that includes all 4 types of social proof. So the first type of social proof is provided social proof. This is given freely by the customer. You can ask for it, but you can't pry it out of them. They have to do it. Reviews, recommendations, and word of mouth fall into this. You can suggest it. You can give them the tools. You can give them the links, but they still have to be the person who clicks the button and does the typing, clicks the number of stars, talks about it to the neighbor, or writes the LinkedIn recommendation, or any of the other multitude of things that they can do. They have to provide it. It's usually done from their personal or business presence. In other words, the reviews are given from them. They're not you going in there and typing something somebody said about your business. This type of social proof is most impactful when potential customers see it and they are in the awareness or consideration phases of the customer journey. In other words, they already know kind of who you are, that they might want to work with you, and they're doing a little bit of research on, do they really want to work with you? Who are you? Kind of what do you represent? Can they trust you? And they're kind of sussing out the details about your business. The second kind of type of social proof is gathered. So this is more directly, you are directly involved with it. The first one, you can suggest it, but you can't really, I don't know, hold a gun to your client's head and force them to give you social proof. Or let's put it this way, you definitely should not do that. But this type, you can, don't hold your clients hostage, but you can sit them down and ask them to participate in this. So this is gathered. It's harvested by the business during the customer journey or after. Usually it becomes something like, can I use your project as a case study for other customers? Or would you mind taking this survey about your experience with our business? Or could I ask for a testimonial from you? This is gathered. It is most impactful for you to use during the sales and the decision phases of the customer journey. Most of the time, if you have someone that is maybe looking at you versus a couple of other freelancers or service providers that they might want to work with, this is a great place for you to, in the sales process, pull out those testimonials, pull out those customer case studies, jerk out that portfolio, and really show them what you have done, proof of who you are as a business, proof of your talent, proof of what you have. Now, if you're a totally new business, like you're a completely new startup, your gathered social proof is going to be people that you know. But you know what? Your potential client really doesn't know that. So if you did a project in college for the newspaper, go back and ask the professor to give you a testimonial. Or if you did some free business work for your cousin while you were in college, or while you were starting to think about building your business, or while you were in high school, go back and do a case study with them. It's okay to go back and to reach a little bit until you have actually built up a lot of this under your belt. If you haven't been in a good practice of harvesting this gathered social proof, it's okay also to go back and interview, or to ask those customers to say, hey, can I talk to you a little bit about your experience with my business? I'm working on my marketing plan. I'm working on social proof. I'm building out my business, or I'm expanding. Make those people their contribution by giving you social proof. Make that a positive experience for them. Make them feel like they're the hero helping you out. And that's a much nicer way to push at it than to say, I really need a testimonial from you because I need new customers. So approach it from them helping you. I hope that mindset shift will help you kind of ask for it. I know it's difficult, especially for freelancers, to ask their customers for a lot of social proof. And I get that, but I can tell you this, practice makes it a whole lot easier. So if you can just kind of make a contract with yourself and say, hey, I know this is going to be uncomfortable for a little while, but I swear we're going to get good at it. And also then the third type here is another way that you can, actually, no, it's the fourth one. No, third. Yeah. This is where you would have in-person recommendations, or people who just start blurting out testimonials for you. So this is what I call social proof in the wild. This is typically offered to the customer's social circle. It is word of mouth. It's in-person recommendations. It's social comments. It is the most impactful of all of the social proof that is out there. Sometimes when this happens, it'll happen in front of you. And in that moment and in that opportunity, if you can capture it, capture it. And I'm going to talk a little bit more about that because it's one of the suggestions I have for you for getting more social proof. But this is another type of social proof that you don't have a lot of control over because the customer is the one that's out there doing it. So it's even less controllable than the provided one that we started off with. It's where, your customer is out on a coffee date with another customer, with another potential customer, and the subject of whatever it is that you do comes up, and they just offer their experience very candidly with your business, and hopefully have your contact information readily available. The final one is authority, which is the public relations and expert piece. So this type of social proof is the expert appearances and public relations. It's your podcast interviews, your articles, your news stories, etc. And this is most impactful during the awareness phase of the customer journey, and then again during the final consideration. So a lot of times this authority type of social proof will bring customers to your business, because the articles, the podcasts, the news stories, the blog posts, the things that are out there in the world, they're going to reach more people beyond your circle. And so you will get new people in from them. So that's really nice during that awareness phase. And many times you're on there kind of addressing something that, people would be interested in learning more about, but maybe they're not completely sold on the idea of doing this project or hiring a freelancer or whatever the case may be. But they're going to learn about it because they've approached this source of authority, and now you've been picked by that source of authority to be an authority on a specific topic. And then this is also really important again during the final consideration phase. And a lot of times I've seen people who, if the client hasn't purchased in their nurture sequences that they send out, at the very end of those, they might pull this card out to say, here, listen to this podcast that I was on, or here, read this article that I was featured in. So it's a great kind of wild card to pull out of your back pocket to help during nurture phases and that kind of stuff. It's also a great place for your potential clients to get to know who you are before they finally pull the trigger. I'm a big advocate for not everyone is your client, and that if you are good at your marketing and you're good at working with the people that you really want to have as clients, then you will attract more of those people into your business and into your life. And believe me, as a mature entrepreneur, I can tell you life gets so much easier when you're working with people that you love to work with, that you're passionate about helping them with their businesses, and that sometimes those little crazy requests don't seem so bad because you adore them that much. I hope all of you find that slate of customers that you absolutely adore so much that you don't ever want to complain about them. Okay, so how to make social proof part of your marketing. So number one, make it easy peasy, super duper obvious, and ask. This is probably the one thing I don't think people actually do. They don't actually ask. They figure that a customer has a good experience and that customer is automatically going to go and give them a review. That's not the case. We all have really super busy lives. And most of the time, even if we have a happy experience and we leave the client meeting or the store or whatever, intending to provide social proof later, and then we get home and we're like, kids need something, or in my case, there's cattle out or something like that. It gets easily swept under the rug and forgotten. So a simple follow-up email with a link to one review site. This is really important. Pick the one that you want to build first and start there. With a request for them to leave a review. Now, you can make this a form email, kind of an automated situation if you have a lot of clients, and make it not very personal. Or if you want to have a little bit more compliance from the people who are receiving the email on the other end, and you don't have so many clients that you're too busy to do it, my recommendation for this email is to kind of word it like this. So, hi client, I want to thank you so much for trusting me with your project. When we were wrapping up today, you mentioned, and then most clients kind of naturally give you a little bit of a review. And many times if it's positive or they've had a great experience, that review will be shining or glorious. And I'm going to give you another opportunity here in a moment to video that. But if short of that, in this particular email, what you might do is to take a little piece of what they said. So basically you're writing the review for them, because the number one complaint people have when you ask them, why did you not leave me a review, or why didn't you fill out that review, is because they didn't know what to say. So you're going to give them what you want them to say. So just simply state it, in closing our meeting today, or you mentioned to me, or you shared with me, and then write the review for them. You don't have to make it 10 sentences. A 1-sentence little piece to kind of get them started is all that you need. And then underneath that, in a new paragraph, just simply state, I'm working on building my social proof portfolio on whatever network you're building it on. Here's a link. Click here if you are moved to leave me a review. And when it's as simple, and you don't have to say cut and paste this, trust me on that. You just need to just simply restate what they stated to you. They know how to cut and paste. So, most of them do. And they'll cut and paste it in there, and it's amazing how well that works. So that's a way to for sure get, or the best for sure way to do it. It's not a for sure way, because you still have to depend on the person on the other end to open the email and respond to it. But, it's definitely a much higher than just sending out that blanket automatic email. Also, get in the habit of asking for a follow-up session after jobs to discuss the client's experience. This was one thing that I learned from a business counselor that I had years and years ago. And I came to that business counselor because I was struggling a little bit. And they were nice enough to help me through that by having me do these follow-ups with customers to kind of find out where my customer service was falling apart. So this was a great way for me to be able to fill in that gap. So ask for the follow-up session. And then if you can, if they give you a good testimonial, get it in writing then. Also, customer interviews and polls and surveys are great ways for you to be able to gather this information for you to be able to use. Also, be social with your customers and network with them. I don't like the word socially stalking, so my co-host of the podcast that I'm on, called The Business Animal, we changed it to socially shadowing. So socially shadow your best customers on social media. And when you find one that's giving you some good love and recommendations, reward them. Don't give them free merchandise or anything, or give them free services, but maybe give them a Starbucks gift card, or send them a thank you card, or if it would be appropriate, maybe a little spring bouquet of flowers in a coffee cup or something. So whatever, a nice little gesture. It doesn't have to be huge and expensive. That just says, hey, thank you so much for sharing it. And remember, you have to give to get. You got to work your network. So be social with your customers and do your networking. Okay, and then don't miss the great organic opportunities. I cannot tell you how many times this happens in the world that we live in. You do a great job. The customer gets their project back. They're so excited. And whether it's on Zoom or in person or over the phone, they just start telling you how wonderful you are. Let them go for just a second and then say, hey, I want you to stop for a second. I want to first of all thank you so very much for saying that. That just makes my day. It warms my heart, kind of however would be your brand of doing that. And then say, look, I'm really trying to build my business, and I would just love if you would allow me to record what you're about to say. And then I might be able to use it as a testimonial. And if you're in person, put the video camera on them and explain to them that, hey, it's okay. If you don't want your picture associated with it, I won't put the video out, but it'll give me a way to capture your words. And then don't just point the camera at them or hit the record button and then say go. That doesn't work. People freeze up, and then all of a sudden they're deer in the headlights. Instead, what you're going to do is you're just going to go back to whatever they said. So let's say they said, the way that you conducted your meetings, it was so personal, and it just was wonderful. It really helped me understand how this project was going to go. And I just want to thank you for making me so comfortable. So when you go back to ask them the question, just say, you were telling me your experience in our customer meetings and how that affected your project. And can you talk to me a little bit more about that? And then let them get back into the moment. And once they get ramped up and going again, they'll just go on their own. But you kind of have to kickstart it because you've stopped it. And a lot of times when you turn on a recording device, people sort of freeze up. Another way that you can kind of get this is to do customer interviews, because then people will start to tell you those things. I always in my customer interviews up front tell them that they're going to be recorded. And then if I do find a testimonial in there, I will type up the testimonial, send it to the customer and say, I would like to publish this on my website or wherever, or all of these places. And would you be okay with that? And then if they are, I generally will ask them to provide me a picture if possible. Particularly when I'm doing this process for my clients, I always try to get a picture. Again, the cobbler's kids don't always have shoes, so not all of mine do. But publish those testimonials everywhere. Doing the customer interviews is a fantastic way to do it. So finally for today, I have some just kind of rapid fire tips for you about building a social proof plan. So this is kind of your strategy. So first of all, determine where your customers are seeking information about your business. Is it on Google? Is it on your website? Is it on social media? Kind of where are they finding out about you? Is it through an organization? Determine those areas, and then get the ability for you to be able to receive social proof in those areas. So if you are wanting social proof on Google, you're going to have a Google My Business page. If you want social proof on Facebook, you're going to have a place that you have a business page on Facebook so people can leave you a review. So just kind of common sense. So set those things up. Then start asking for that social proof. Ask for it routinely and regularly. Yes, you will get some negative social proof. It is okay. That's an educational experience for you and your business. It's not a reason to quit. It's not a reason to get upset. It's not a reason to hate that customer. It is just simply them telling you their experience and you ascertaining what you can learn from that to improve for the next person, and to also maybe go back and improve it for them if that is something that is appropriate. So start asking for it. Then once you start asking for it and getting it, utilize it. Put it everywhere. Put it on your website, put it out into the world, talk to people about it, share that social proof everywhere. And then also engage with and reward the customers who provide the social proof, good or bad. Always engage with the people, especially the ones that do bad social proof. You want to get on there and prove to the people who are going to come in and read those reviews that you are attentive and that you're willing to help and that your customer service stands out, even if that person had a problem. So that's positive. And then also develop good social proof listening skills and tracking. This is that social shadowing. It's listening. It's understanding who is talking about your business out into the world. Start turning your ears on for that. Start turning your eyes on for it so that you start understanding where that social proof comes from, and work your network. Get out there, talk to people, go to events, have coffee, get to know people that will sponsor you and talk about your business out into the world. And then finally, seek opportunities to be presented as an authority out in the world. Get opportunities. If you get an opportunity to speak on a podcast or to write a blog post or to show your work somewhere, take that opportunity. All right. Your mindful marketing tip for this particular presentation is that social proof is one of, if not the most powerful asset you can harvest for your business. Embrace it, use it, share it, ask for it. And if you want to know more about me, there's some great information on this slide here. Thank you so much for showing up and listening to this today. I hope you've enjoyed this presentation on social proof, and I hope to be seeing you somewhere down the line at another event. Have a blessed day.